Cup Series driver Corey LaJoie is breaking up with his race team, but is there a better option out there? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. Hope you all have had a good week. We've got some NASCAR silly season dominoes to discuss, but first I want to talk about some brief news regarding upcoming NASCAR Cup Series races. Bristol Motor Speedway today announced they will be allowing fans to attend both Saturday and Sunday of their upcoming NASCAR Cup Series race weekend. They didn't give an exact number as to how many fans will be allowed, but most people expect it to be roughly 25,000 fans each day, which is similar to what they had for the All-Star race back in July. Now, one notable difference in their policy is, unlike the All-Star race in July, which I was at and I pointed out in my video, they will be doing temperature checks at the gates before their race here in September. So just be sure to keep that in mind before you head out to the racetrack, but also be sure to check out my video from last month where I go in depth and show you guys what it's like at Bristol Motor Speedway specifically during a pandemic. Anyway, on the opposite end of the spectrum and the opposite side of the Tennessee-Virginia border, Richmond Raceway announced today that they will not be allowing any fans at their race weekend in September. Both Richmond and Bristol are in the first round of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, but there you have it. If you're planning to go to any upcoming races, more and more updates continue to come out, but just wanted to start off the show with that. Also related to COVID, related to the pandemic, Austin Dillon will be back in the 3-car this weekend for the doubleheader at Dover after missing the Daytona road course after being diagnosed with COVID-19. He has recovered. He has passed all of NASCAR's necessary protocols, so he will be back in the car this week. He was granted a playoff waiver from NASCAR, so he will still be in the NASCAR playoffs because of his win at Texas earlier this year. Again, Kaz Grala in his one and only Cup Series start finished top 10, finished 7th at the Daytona road course, so quick round of applause again for Kaz Grala in his relief driver role. Really impressive performance last week, but good to have Austin Dillon back. Now we also are going to look at some NASCAR throwback schemes. The rest of Hendrick Motorsports revealed their throwbacks, and they all feature a similar Jimmy Johnson theme. We'll look at those at the end of this episode, but now I want to talk about silly season. We've got to talk about driver Corey LaJoie, who made an announcement this morning. It was first reported yesterday by Jim Utter, but today Corey LaJoie confirmed that he will not be returning to Go Fast Racing or the 32 car next season. In a rare tweet from Corey LaJoie these days, he said, "I'm sure most of you have seen the silly season news regarding the mutual decision for me to part ways with Go Fast Racing after this season. My partners and I are in discussions with several other opportunities to continue improving competitively in the Cup Series. Go Fast has been a significant part of my growth. Together, over the past 2 years of competing, we've achieved career best finishes for both myself and the team. I've enjoyed working with all the guys and made lifelong friendships. Archie runs a great team, and I wish them all the best next season." Now, Corey LaJoie also spoke to several members of the media. I read an article today from The Athletic where he talks about how his mutual breakup between him and Go Fast Racing really didn't come as a surprise to either him or the team. From The Athletic, LaJoie said, "It's something we both kind of expected. I've been trying to position myself to get me and my partners in the most competitive spot, and I feel like I'm experienced enough to take that next step competitively. And Go Fast had some interest from other guys who wanted to bring some money over there, so we're getting it out there that we're both available." Classic Corey LaJoie, sort of leaking other possible news as he's making news himself, mentioning that maybe there's a driver bringing some funding to that 32 car. We'll see what happens there in the coming weeks. Now, before we talk about who might take over the 32 car next year or where Corey LaJoie might go next year, let's talk about Corey LaJoie and his resume as it is. I'll be honest, I like Corey LaJoie. I'm a fan of Corey LaJoie. I got to be on his podcast last year, Sunday Money, which was a real honor. Corey's been cool enough to appear kind of in a couple of my videos here and there, so he's been really awesome. I'm a fan of Corey LaJoie, so quite frankly, I want to see him in a decent ride next year. I'm realistic. I'm not expecting him to go to the 48 car or anything like that, but I'd love to see Corey LaJoie take a small step forward next year because I think he could do special things. But being objective, let's talk about Corey LaJoie's numbers. This year, and he mentions it in his tweet, he's putting up career best numbers for not just him, but also for the team Go Fast Racing. His average finish so far in 2020 is 24.3. That's an improvement on a 25.9 average finish for him and the team last year. And it's worth mentioning that both of those numbers are significantly better than the roughly 27th place average finish Matt DiBenedetto was averaging for the 32 team when he was in that ride. And remember, DiBenedetto leveraged some good runs in that car to get a ride with Toyota and Levine Family Racing, and then now with a Team Penske affiliate at the Wood Brothers. So Matt DiBenedetto was able to leverage decent success in the 32 car into a better opportunity. Corey LaJoie's numbers in the 32 car are a little bit better. Not a lot, but a little bit better than Matt DiBenedetto's were. Now, beyond that, it is difficult to really say how good Corey LaJoie is, because in his relatively short NASCAR Cup Series career, including his Xfinity and even Truck Series career, he has never been in good or top-level equipment. So the numbers, just in a raw sense, if you look at like top 10s, top 5s, does not look super impressive. But if you go down to ARCA, when he raced for his father, former NASCAR driver Randy LaJoie, in 2012, Corey LaJoie won 5 of the 14 ARCA East, then it was the Can-Am East Series races, and finished second in the points that year to Kyle Larson. And then 2013, LaJoie ran only 5 main ARCA Series starts, but he won 3 of them, again driving for his dad Randy LaJoie. And that was back when the ARCA Series was certainly a lot more competitive than it is today. There was more than 7 good cars on a weekly basis. But my point is, several years ago, when Corey LaJoie was in good equipment in different stock car racing series, he did have some success. He proved that he's no slouch behind the wheel, so that's why I would like to see Corey LaJoie hopefully take a small step forward next year, but only time will tell if an opportunity actually presents itself, because as we've talked about plenty of times on this show in recent weeks and months, there are a lot of talented free agents sort of circulating in the NASCAR world right now. And there are a lot of drivers who may on the surface look like they're locked into current situations. I talk about like Matt DiBenedetto, but even his contract's not entirely known beyond this year, and there's a chance he could be on the way out or on the move somewhere. So there's a lot of unknowns remaining in and around NASCAR silly season this year. The big one is Erik Jones. Where does he go now that he's no longer going to be with Joe Gibbs Racing? So where does Corey LaJoie fit into all this? Well, here's my prediction. Rumors I've seen, and granted I have not seen these rumors in any super credible location, but rumors I've seen all point Corey LaJoie towards the 37 car for JTG Doherty Racing. A lot of rumors suggest Ryan Preece could be on the way out. His future with that team is unknown. He's been there the last 2 years, and quite frankly, if I had the opportunity, and this is even me trying to be objective, if I had the opportunity to swap Corey LaJoie out for Ryan Preece, I would do it in a heartbeat. No disrespect to Ryan Preece, but in the last 2 years now of his Cup Series career, he just has not impressed me beyond like that Daytona race last year where he had a couple great dodges of wrecks. Aside from that, nothing really stands out about Ryan Preece, at least not since his JGR Xfinity days where he had a few standout performances. I mean, this year the 37 car is 30th in points. I know some of it has been team, it's been mechanical, but I mean, there's a lot of it's been wrecks, and some drivers are better at getting out of those situations than others, and Ryan Preece has found himself in the middle of a lot of carnage this year, unfortunately, so they've just sucked this year. He was 26th in points last year, significantly worse than his teammate Chris Buescher. This year, he's significantly worse than his teammate Ricky Stenhouse, so I wouldn't be shocked if JTG Doherty opts to go with a guy like Corey LaJoie, especially because I don't believe Ryan Preece is bringing a whole lot of his own sponsorship. Kroger was already at that team before he got there, and Corey LaJoie, to his credit, he has some sponsors behind him, like Schluter Systems, Dryden, I think like Built Bar, he might have had a couple others. I don't know about like Corvette or Keen Parts or any of them. I don't know if they'll stay with Corey LaJoie, but I know at least a couple of those companies I just mentioned are Corey LaJoie, so he does have at least a little bit of money behind him that could maybe land him a slightly better ride like JTG Doherty. I'm not going to kid you guys, JTG Doherty's not really a playoff car, at least not in a consistent way, but I would say it's better than Go Fast Racing by a tiny margin, a slim margin, but a margin nonetheless. And don't forget, remember earlier this year when Corey LaJoie reportedly sent Rick Hendrick a handwritten letter sort of pitching himself for the 48 car potentially. I know Rick Hendrick doesn't really make the decisions over at JTG Doherty, but JTG Doherty does have a relationship with Rick Hendrick. They have kind of a shared alliance in a sense between the two teams. So maybe Rick Hendrick does have some say. Maybe there's some connection there that could also land Corey LaJoie at JTG Doherty, but right now that seems like the most likely option. LaJoie, of course, said today that he's had some good discussions with potential teams next year, and he sounds confident that he could land in a ride that is at least equal, if not better, than the 32 car was this year. So I'm hopeful for Corey LaJoie. I think he will land at JTG Doherty next year, but there's still a lot of moving pieces out there. Anything can happen, and things can change extremely fast. So who goes to the 32 car? It's not a playoff car. Traditionally, it's not a contender traditionally, but who goes to that 32 car? It's a stable team, it's a full-time team with a charter and everything. And this year in 2020, they began a very loose technical alliance with Stewart-Haas Racing. And the reason I say loose is they aren't really sharing data or equipment in any way, shape, or form, but like Go Fast this year is running like 3 and 4 year old Kevin Harvick cars, so better than what they used to be running, maybe by a tiny bit, but still it's not the same as like the Furniture Row JGR alliance, or even this year with Levine and JGR. It's not the same as Wood Brothers and Penske. It's less than that, but there is a connection there between Stewart-Haas and Go Fast Racing, so that's allowed many fans to speculate about the future of the 32 car, and I think a possible option is Chase Briscoe going to the 32 car. He's with Stewart-Haas right now in the Xfinity Series. If they want to get him some Cup Series experience, Go Fast might be a great option. Another possibility is that maybe Stewart-Haas Racing and Go Fast will deepen their technical alliance, and maybe the 32 car will make a true investment and really become sort of the 5th SHR car, the same way Levine is for Joe Gibbs this year, or like I said, Wood Brothers are to Team Penske. Maybe that will really become a true technical alliance next year, and so maybe that 32 car will go from a 28th place car to maybe a top 20 or top 15 car on some days. So maybe Chase Briscoe could be stepping into a better 32 car than we've historically come to know. But that's a big if. I don't know that Chase Briscoe is going to go to the 32 car. There's still a possibility Chase Briscoe will land at the main Stewart-Haas stable next year in the Cup Series if Clint Bowyer does not re-sign with the team, or if something happens with Eric Almirola and his deal with Smithfield, if that falls apart out of nowhere. Or we could see Briscoe back in the Xfinity Series for one more year, which I don't think would be the worst thing in the world. I think would be competent in the Cup Series if they put him in the Cup Series next year. I think he'd be fine. I don't think he'd be amazing or anything, but I think he'd be fine. But personally, if he's stuck in Xfinity for one more year, I don't think that's that big of a deal. Remember earlier this week, we talked about on this show, Tony Stewart publicly lobbied NASCAR to reinstate Kyle Larson, theoretically, because Tony Stewart and Gene Haas are interested in signing Kyle Larson to the 14 team, or one of the SHR cars that may become available. So that might mean Briscoe's only Cup Series option is the 32 car if they deepen that technical alliance. That is a possibility. Of course, there's a possibility that Kyle Larson could go to the 32 car. It would certainly be a downgrade from what he was running at Chip Ganassi, but it could be his opportunity to get his foot back in the door in the NASCAR Cup Series. And let's be frank, Go Fast Racing's team owner, Archie St. Hilaire, has proven that he's not afraid of, possible public backlash or public criticism. I mean, he's the guy who agreed to run the Trump 2020 car for a good portion of races this year. He didn't even go to his driver to discuss it. He just signed the deal on his own. So Archie St. Hilaire is perfectly fine dealing with potential controversy off the track. And Kyle Larson, while I don't think he's necessarily going to bring that much baggage behind him, he is going to be often associated with the mistake he made earlier this year. So maybe Archie St. Hilaire is the perfect owner to team up with Kyle Larson, because like I said, he's proven that the haters, I guess, don't get to him. I don't know. There are a lot of questions about the future of the 32 car. There are a lot of questions about where Corey LaJoie goes from here. I hope Corey LaJoie stays in the Cup Series. I hope he gets a decent opportunity, something better than the 32 car. I think he has earned the right. I read you guys some of those numbers from when he was like 20 years old trying to break into NASCAR. Like, I think Corey LaJoie is decent. I mean, NASCAR's changed quite a bit. The cars are quite a bit different than what he was driving in the ARCA Series 7 years ago, but I would like to see Corey LaJoie land at a place like JTG Doherty. I don't think Corey LaJoie's necessarily worthy of the 48 car, for example, but I'd like to see Corey LaJoie take a step forward. But there you have it. That's the silly season news for today. Let's look at some paint schemes and then let's get out of here, because at the time I'm uploading this, I think the Truck Series race is on. So there's actual racing on right now. I gotta find a TV. Anyway, let's talk about Hendrick Motorsports, because after Jimmy Johnson revealed his epic hodgepodge of a 7-time champion tribute throwback scheme for the Southern 500 here in a few weeks, the rest of Hendrick Motorsports is paying tribute to Jimmy Johnson himself. Let's look at these paint schemes. Chase Elliott is running a throwback to Jimmy Johnson's 2009 championship scheme, and it looks pretty awesome. You got the Lowe's colors, the yellow, the black, the red trim and everything. Of course, Napa is on the hood, so the blue and Napa sort of matches, honestly, with the Lowe's colors from that year. I like this scheme a lot. William Byron is running a throwback to Jimmy Johnson's 2013 All-Star Race win scheme. Jimmy Johnson, this one makes sense to me just because of the sponsor William Byron has, Liberty, and that scheme that Johnson ran that year was red, white, and blue, very patriotic, kind of matches the Liberty brand, so I understand them running that throwback. I don't really think of the 2013 All-Star Race as like a huge Jimmy Johnson moment. I mean, it was the All-Star Race win. It was a big win for him, of course, but I don't really think of that as like a defining moment of Jimmy Johnson's career, but it's still a pretty good looking scheme, and it matches the sponsor William Byron and Hendrick Motorsports have today. So I like that one. And then let's talk about Alex Bowman. This might be my favorite of the three. He and Truck Hero are throwing it back to Jimmy Johnson's 2006 Lowe's paint scheme, his first ever NASCAR Cup Series championship paint scheme. I like this just because it is his first championship. It started the 5 straight years of championship dominance from Jimmy Johnson. It was the first of now 7. I love that they're throwing it back to 2006. This is an iconic car. When I I think of Jimmy Johnson in the mid to late 2000s, this is kind of the paint scheme I think of first. So I like it a lot. I love that Hendrick Motorsports is doing this for Jimmy Johnson in his final full-time Cup Series season. Of course, Jimmy Johnson, as I've said before, you can make a real case. He is the greatest driver in NASCAR history. He is certainly the greatest driver of the last 20 years. There is absolutely no question about that. So paying homage to a living legend in the sport of stock car racing, I love to see it. I think it's great, and I'm glad that they didn't shy away from it. I was worried they'd shy away because Lowe's is no longer on the car, no longer a part of the team, and all those paint schemes. When I see those schemes, I'll be honest, like, sorry Liberty, sorry Napa, sorry Truck Hero, I think Lowe's when I see those paint schemes. So Lowe's is getting some free impressions this week perhaps, but I love them a lot, so I'm excited to see what they look like under the lights at Darlington here in a few weeks in the playoffs. Going to be freaking awesome. But yeah, there you have it. Let me know what you guys think of those paint schemes. They are fantastic in my opinion, especially Bowman's. I love, they even went with the neon yellow on him and Chase Elliott. It's like, just looks great. Anyway, that is all I've got for today's episode. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you are new. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. Of course, a huge thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters. I could not continue to do this show without your support each and every month, so for that, I thank you a ton. 2 Dover races this weekend. Right now, my plan is to upload a video both Saturday and Sunday night, but that could change depending on how weather plays a factor, depending on how late these races go and what happens in them. But my plan is to upload a couple of videos this weekend. It's a double header for the Cup Series, which means I'm going to be a busy man, but hope you all enjoyed the races this weekend. 750 horsepower, low downforce, going to be different than last year's Dover races, so for that, I am definitely interested to see how these cars handle, but yeah, I'll be watching the races this weekend. Hope you are too, and I will see you when they are done. Have a great weekend, y'all.